Reviewing Garden Party Massacre. Now, when I first put this movie on, I didn't really know what to think of it. I think from watching many 80s slasher films, as soon as you see the word massacre in there, you expect a movie with lots of blood and gore, a bit cheesy but not much of a storyline. This wasn't the case with this film. It is more of a comedy than a horror, but I literally laughed out loud pretty much the whole way through this. It was really funny. I think what was great is that I've actually seen blockbuster films that do not get comedy as well as this film did. It is literally on spec the whole way through. It got every single comedy note right. What the storyline is about is basically a dysfunctional couple that have decided to have a garden party, and have invited over some friends from the office. So the main characters are Caleb and Addison, and that although you can kind of guess they maybe love each other, they fight constantly. And in fact, Addison's character got one of the best lines in this whole movie, because she's kind of got like a temper on her. And the character Wesley, who's the gay character, says to her, "Have you ever thought about anger management?" And she says, "I don't need anger management, I just need the world to stop pissing me off." And that buckled when they said that line. But basically the party doesn't go as planned, and one of the other guests, who was kind of an unwanted guest is the word I'm looking for, Melanie, gets murdered. And then it becomes a kind of cat and mouse where they're all in the house trying to hide from the killer outside. Now, what I loved about this film was that the characters were all unique. They're certainly not characters that you're ever going to say you've seen in another horror film at all, or a comedy film for that matter, because they're not like any other characters. I mean, the character Link, to me, kind of reminded me a little bit of like Ernest from Ernest Scared Stupid, only he's not as daft. It was maybe his mannerisms, and he isn't, to quote his own line from the movie, the brightest pencil in the box. That's because that's the way he says it. But all of the people that were cast in this were perfect for the characters that they were playing. They just got it absolutely spot on. There's one of the characters in it, Rena, who really reminded me of like Janine Garofalo. I can never say that actress's name, but she really reminded me of her. And she got her kind of sarcastic humour perfect. There's a scene in this, and again, I don't want to give too much away, because this is a movie that I highly recommend that you get a copy and watch, because it is this funny. Where there's a character being chased by the killer, and the two girls are just standing eating crisps, watching it happen. But it's not done in a way that you think it's like obvious humour. It just naturally happened in the scene, because like they were kind of standing around bored waiting for what's happening, and getting the phones that are actually going to get away, and one of them just happened to pick up a packet of crisps, and it naturally flowed into the scene, which I thought was perfect. There's nothing better than when you see a comedy movie where the comedy actually just happens. It's not forced. You don't see the joke coming. It just happens, and it fits in perfect. And as I said, this movie is more of a comedy than a horror, but there are, especially towards the end, and I'm not going to give away the twist that comes, but it is, in fact, there's more than one twist in it, which is amazing, because to start with, I was kind of thinking about giving this movie like a 7 out of 10. Until it got to the end, because although the movie was really good, and it had, up until that particular moment, fantastic comedy and the little twist that happened there, it wasn't enough for me to push it higher. And then the big twist at the end came, and then another twist came, and it kept changing itself, and it kept upping the game, and every time it did that, I was like, this movie's getting better and better and better. And it literally was like the best comedy film I've seen in a long time, and I think that's saying something, because there is a lot of good comedies out there, so it's great to finally get like a horror one that gets it right. I think the last horror comedy which I watched that probably made me laugh as much as this was like Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, or like Dale and Tucker vs Evil. I laughed at both of them. I laughed more at this than I did at them. I would buy this film. It shows you how much I really liked it, because it just got everything right. The characters were perfect, the comedy was perfect, it just worked. All in all, I would give this movie probably an 8.5 out of 10. Although it wasn't a horror as such, it certainly had all the horror elements in there, plenty of gore, plenty of twists. It is more of a comedy, but it was perfectly blended in horror and comedy, and it was just enjoyable through and through. As I said, I would watch this movie again, I would buy this movie. So I definitely highly recommend that you get yourself a copy. But yeah, I can't say anything else about it other than I really hope there's a sequel, because it left it open for a perfect sequel. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm doing a review from Deadly Dames Horror Extravaganza. You can find us on YouTube as well, so just type in our name and you'll be able to find us. And as always, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe and take care.